Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma just dropped a boatload of new information recently and quite a few confirmations that I think could shape the Rune Factory franchise as a whole into a new innovative spectacle for future installments. Honestly, the more I see the game, the harder it becomes to contain my excitement for it. I'm going to go over a lot of the new details and cover as much as I can from the trailer as well as the gameplay showcase, and maybe try to paint a better picture for you guys that this could be potentially the best Rune Factory to date. What's up guys, Tactics here with another video for you. There's just been a lot going on for this first month of the year with the Nintendo Switch 2 reveal trailer, and now we've got Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma getting more information as well. The creative juices just doesn't seem to be slowing down anytime soon, so let's not waste any more time and dive right in, starting with just the overall scenery and the look of the game. You know how sometimes when you see something shown off to you for the very first time and it just sort of resonates with you? Well, that's the kind of feeling I got with this game. It was a very similar feeling that I had last time as well when I saw Unicorn Overlord for the very first time. Something about the art design and the overall theme of the game being inspired by Japanese culture just really got me hooked. You got the sakura trees, the shrines, the incredible vistas, and the sea. Like, it looks extremely good to my eyes here. Then we get to see some of the local wildlife, aka the monsters. You got your woolies and your clockadoodles, your boofamoos and all that. And it does look like they are reusing a lot of the designs from previous installments, which I'm not too surprised by. But we do get to see some new monsters though, like this little panda looking guy here and these human shaped birds, probably inspired by the creatures in Japanese folklore, I'm guessing the Tengu. Then we get these little ice mushrooms, which is really neat, and even in the gameplay trailer here we get to obviously see these larger monsters that they've been showing off a lot, which I'm sure are depicted as Onis. And you'll see really quickly in the following shots as well that there are monsters in the barn-like building, so obviously this indeed confirms that we have taming monsters returning to the game. Speaking of building though, we finally get to see in more detail how base and village building works. You'll be able to go into some kind of building mode where you'll be able to select certain assets and buildings to use and create the kind of village that you want it to be. And it does look like there will be a lot of customization, considering that in this particular shot here from the gameplay showcase that you'll have an abundance of options of accessories and even down to having different types of road tiles, it seems. There will also be multiple villages and bases that you'll be able to construct from the ground up. And I think also by having this sort of grid-based system in play allows the players to be able to place things down in a neat and organized fashion, much different from Rune Factory 5. My only concern is will there be enough space to put new structures down later and not make it feel too cluttered or cramped? It seems like each structure contributes to certain stat growth for your character, maybe, and it shows you how many buildings you'll be able to place down on the map as well here. My guess is that this number could increase depending on the level of the village, since we see here that this village is already level 6. The higher the village level, the more buildings you'll be able to add to the village potentially. And something tells me that missions will also make a return, since there is a scenic score down below here. You might have to hit a certain score in order to complete certain town missions. Then it shows off the villagers. You'll be able to customize your villagers, and I find that to be very exciting, even down to assigning them certain roles in the village. Villagers also come with their own unique qualities, so assigning them certain jobs based on what sort of qualities that they have may give you better results at their new job. But it does go even deeper than that. Villagers will help with the farming when it comes to planting, watering, and even gathering your crops for you, making farming much more streamlined than ever before. And according to the developer, you will not only be planting these crops for yourself, but you're also doing this for the villagers as well by shipping them off and making money while also simultaneously keeping the village fed. Now, I'm not so sure if there's some sort of mechanic in the game where it's like, if you're not being attentive to your villagers enough and you're not feeding them, or you're just not producing enough crops for them, there's a potential that they could just up and leave the village altogether or even die. But if there is some sort of mechanic like that in the game, it would make sense that you would want to make sure to maintain and stay attentive to your crops and the well-being of your villagers. Afterwards, we get a nice quick tour of the village once all is said and done from the trailer. Now, as I said before, monster taming of course makes a return, since using monsters to traverse the land may be more optimal than using your own scrawny little legs this time around, like riding a Boofamoo. And even though we don't yet know the full exact scope of the map, like exactly how big is it going to be, it makes you wonder if each area is sort of maybe segmented off from one another, or is it an actual open world kind of deal. It could be maybe similar to something along the lines as Pokemon Legends Arceus, where you had these huge open sandboxy areas throughout the game, but they were segmented off from one another via the world map. And I'm just gonna go ahead and say probably not, but either way, I do believe this will be a much larger map than even something from Rune Factory 5. Now let's move on into the next major feature in the game, being a staple that has been around since the beginning: the bachelors and the bachelorettes. And holy hell, this game features 16 candidates, which is a pretty nice step up from Rune Factory 5's roster of characters, which I believe was 12. Personally, I was hoping that they would make the pink-haired chick a candidate as well. No, not you, Hina. We're talking about Ulalaka here. No. We're not doing this again, okay? I'm sorry you didn't make the cut into the game, but we're just not doing this again, so just go away, okay? Anyways, like I said, it's great to see that players will have a pretty big roster of characters to choose from, and of course, same-sex marriage is in the game as well. I mean, we gotta be inclusive to everyone, I suppose. Now, some characters I wasn't expecting though, like the blonde-haired chick who kinda starts out as your enemy, similar to Kaguya. But even the two cameo characters like Hina get a shot at love as well, which I kind of find a bit weird, since if you played Rune Factory 5, then you know her back when she was a child. I guess it goes to show that many of the marriage candidates back in Rune Factory 5 just weren't very memorable or interesting enough to make a cameo here, except for Hina. I mean, after all, they even use Hina in the gameplay showcase to show off more of the relationship options that you have once you hit their max level. They show off more options of what you can do with your partner of choice, like giving them the usual gifts, some hit pats, which I'm pretty sure that's like a Japanese thing or whatever, and then you can hug it out with each other, and even down to sharing a kiss at max level 10. Now, I'm pretty sure as stated before, but some of these options are exclusive to your partners of choice once you've hit a certain level with your bond with them. Now, we're just about done here, but there's just a little bit more to discuss about the gameplay and of course the combat. In these last few shots, we get to see the player riding a wolf, which is kind of cool in my opinion, but I don't know why it gives off this sort of Okami vibes for me, but it does, but maybe that's just me. But then we get to see some kind of bullet time mechanic when dodging at the right time puts your enemy in a sort of state of, well, bullet time, making them move slower for a short period of time, which allows you to get a couple of free hits in. Then we see this sort of Breath of the Wild moment to me when the player's riding a horse out in the grassy fields fighting a few basic mobs. Next is a little display of the sacred treasure, which is the talisman in action, which seems to be a light-based weapon, giving more relevance to your light and dark stat. It does seem like having elemental weapons will be a much more important feature than just having normal ones this go around as well. Perhaps you'll be able to add elements to your weapons using elemental crystals you find from monsters or in dungeons at a smithy. But there's another interesting key detail to mention, which is with the bow. In this shot here, we see the player using the bow, but using the flame sword as an arrow, it seems, to give it the fire element. So will you be able to do this with other weapons as well? Then we get to see more in-depth information about some of the other weapons as well from the gameplay showcase. First, we get to see this boss fight against this giant tree, and we get to see more of the bow in action as it's used in a way to hit the enemy's weak point to trigger a stagger. Then we get to see the player also use the drums in a way that we actually haven't seen before until now. It seems like it can be used both offensively and even defensively by healing your allies, but also by doing some sort of shockwave that can damage nearby enemies. And then of course we get to see more of the parasol also in action, as it does tremendous damage to a giant Oni out in the grassy fields. Another new key feature that I like is the ability to have more than just 4 party members. Now you'll be able to have up to 6 party members on your team at a given time. But it seems like you can only have 4 out on the field, but you will be able to cycle through them on the fly. I do like this new addition as well, since, well, it seems like with each new installment, the roster of characters continues to grow, making players want to experiment with party composition and different characters that all have their own unique abilities and their own way of fighting with their specialized weapon of choice. So having more party members that you can switch out on is much needed. But that's about all the details that I noticed from watching the new trailer and some bits from the gameplay footage. But if you guys noticed anything, or if there was something that I forgot to mention in the video, please let me know what that might be. Either way, Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma continues to impress me with each and every little bit of new details that they're willing to show us. But what do you guys think? Is Guardians of Azuma a game you might be interested in? Are you a long-time fan of the series and as excited as I am, or do these types of games just not do it for you? Let me know in the comments below. Alright, there you have it guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if so, be sure to smash that like button for your boy and subscribe if you haven't already for more Rune Factory and other RPG related topics. This game continues to impress me each and every time I see it. I just cannot wait to have this game in my hands on May 30th when it drops. It is just a day one buy for sure. But either way, I appreciate you guys all the same, and with that, I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.